All right, welcome back, guys. Today, what we're going to talk about is last week. I had a really, really good week in Summoner's War. First thing is I pulled Veligul, one of my most wanted monsters. I've done Summoning Stone summons for Veligul several times and never got him. And last week I randomly got him out of Summoning Stones. I had like 600 stones. I had no expectations. It was the only lightning I got, and it was the second lightning till the end. And yeah, I summoned that rotation because I didn't have one of the other monsters. And whenever I don't have two, that's pretty good. And if one of them is my most wanted, like Veligul, kind of got to go for it. So this is his PvE kind of leveling build, not really his endgame build, but I immediately leveled him up, fully Devilmonned him out, and I started using him in RTA because he fits right into my team and does things that I really want to do that I couldn't do before. So I'm pretty excited about that. So there's the Veligul. So that was exciting thing number one. Already a great week, considering I had very few summoning stones and got probably my most wanted monster. So that was pretty great. But then, yesterday, the event, I got my Water Legendary Scroll, right? And I always have a blessing because I want to summon specific monsters that I don't have. And yeah, so I had gotten nothing from the event, nothing from the Wind Scrolls, the Fire Scrolls, whatever, nothing from the other two Legendary Scrolls. And then I summoned my Water Legendary Scroll and summoned Barbara, which I have no expectations of getting a Barbara because they're so new, and you can see I'm still trying to summon a Veligul who's like 5-6 years old. But this is one of the new hotnesses that everybody's summoning for because she does so much. I mean, everybody kind of knows what Veligul does, but Barbara is speed scaling damage plus a slow on skill 1, and it scales really, really well. Like, it scales so well that people are using Leo to slow her down just because the damage scales so well with speed. So that might be where they tune her a little bit if they need to. Fast Link, which is the defense break, bar absorb, and I think that's it. Is it the strip also? Let's see. Beast attacks weakness of the enemy, defense break, and absorbs the attack bar for each harmful effect. So this is the defense break, bar absorb, and then this one is the strip, bar boost, and defense ignore. Like, what? Yeah. So that's a crazy kit. I haven't Devilmonned her up yet because I used most of my Devilmon on Veligul, and I'm not sure she fits into my comp just yet. And with like a couple days left, I don't know if it's worth messing around with my comp when I, kind of need every game. So, but she's here ready to go. I'm a little bit worried she'll get nerfed too because, I mean, everybody knows she's kind of crazy. So we'll see. But really, really good week, right? I mean, you couldn't ask for better. And she's the one I would want out of the three. I think Savannah is maybe better overall. This cat is attacking my iPad. I think Savannah is better overall, but she's for certain kinds of comps. Like turn 1, better have a Chi-Wu. I don't have a Chi-Wu, and I'm not really playing turn 1 right now. So Barbara's the one I want. The strip, the defense ignore, the bar boost, and we'll see. We'll see if we can't make it work next season if she stays as OP as she currently is. So the one thing I wanted to show you guys is I made a video of my first matches with Veligul. And these are the only ranked matches I played with Veligul, and so far he's undefeated. So spoilers, I'm going to win all these, which is kind of cool for getting a brand new monster and putting him right into play. But he brings something to my team that I know exactly what it is, and I know exactly how I'll use it. So it wasn't very hard to kind of get used to him. Some monsters you start playing and they're hard to get used to, or you mess them up. But Veligul, I know exactly what he does, and he does it well. So let's take a look. This is just my first 3 matches. He is going to eat my cord. Get off! That's a fun thing for you guys. I'm going to try to mute that crazy sound because that's going to destroy people's ears. Sorry about that. Alright, so let's take a look at the pick ban. Actually, let's go back just a hair. So we can look at the pick ban. Yeah. Okay, so he picked Bastet. I immediately picked the counters, the bruisery counters that I have, Tyrannus and Harmonia, right? Because I see a Bastet, I know something fast and horrible is about to happen, right? So that's the thought there. They picked Chi-Wu Savannah, so like we just mentioned about Savannah and the Savannah uses, kind of want a Chi-Wu to take first turn. She has the strip and the bar reduce, she's really great. So I say, okay, so I'm going to go with Verd, because Chi-Wu and Savannah are both AoE, and mine's Triple Revenge. So in theory, out of those two AoEs, we've got a pretty good chance of revenging. And I picked the Velijoul as well because I want the elemental advantage on the Savannah, just in case that's the damage dealer I have to deal with. And I want the cleanse. The cleanse is going to be really important. So that's the thought there. Then they go with Bernard and Daphnis, which I thought was interesting. This is one of those hyper turn cycling teams that you see sometimes that win just through cycling through with usually Bernard. I've been beaten by an Orion though, so there's a lot of ways to do it. And so I picked Triana because my Triana is designed to beat Daphnis, right? I think that's what most Trianas are designed to beat. Mine is not on will, it's on Nemesis, triple HP, pretty slow but super beefy. So even if he lands a defense break, sometimes she can live. But if he doesn't land the defense break, I mean, she's good for sure. So let's take a look from there. He bans the Tyrannus, which means it was a good pick because it was meant to be countering that team. In theory, I could have picked something better last and made him ban that. But I think Tyrannus is just the biggest threat no matter when you pick him to a lot of cleaves like this. Because it messes with the Daphnis and it messes with the Savannah. Okay, here's something he did that was real cool. He came prepared for a non-will Triana in the Bernard, and I think it was intentional, but it was really smart. So instead of boosting, he defense broke, because he knew he wouldn't be able to kill it without a defense break, and that defense break allowed the Daphnis to follow up with a kill. Like, the worst thing that can happen to a Daphnis user is not wanting to use their third skill first turn. So that was really nice for him. Now I'm kind of playing catch-up, get a lucky sleep there. And didn't allow my Harmonia to do what Harmonia does. Like, it didn't allow my Harmonia to balance because he just one-shot it right away. Bernard doing tons of damage again. Nice revenge. And then I'm working on the Bernard. I think I was working on the Bernard first because usually they're so much speed that they're squishy. But also, I didn't want the defense break, I didn't want the speed buff, I didn't want the turn cycling. So that was my thought, is kill the Bernard. And I have triple fire, so it shouldn't be hard. And there we go. Little dot action. We switch to the Daphnis. And the Daphnis should be really easy to kill once the shield's down, and though that's his only threat, really, is the Daphnis. The Bernard's kind of a secondary damage threat, but once we get those down, we kind of rock to the win. The interesting thing about that match was the Velijoul was not used kind of correctly. I buffed before the Chiyu strip, and he just took it away, right? So I should have waited and used that buff cleanse as a threat instead of just blowing it for no reason. So I was a little bit over-anxious. That was, a couple hours after I pulled him. But he did the other thing he does, which is a ton of damage and not die. Like, he had defense-based damage. His defense breaker was wind, so that made it hard to mess with his damage. And he did a ton of damage in that 3-turn dot, Nope, you go every time. If you're going to knock over the mic, you can't stay up here. Okay, so let's look at the next one. This is something I'm really excited about, and we'll pause it after the picks here. Okay, so in my mind, the best counter pick to Hathor first pick is Ganny Vela, and I have not had that option available to me until now. And so I'm really excited about it because they're both Hathor counters, and they both are general enough to work against whatever they pick to follow it up. So he picks Hathor, I pick Ganny Vela, and I'm like, finally, I have this option. Because Vela is one proc away from countering Hathor forever. And that's a really scary thing for a Hathor user. If you used Hathor, you're like, oh man, don't proc, and then they proc, right? And my team is generally designed to focus the procs into the most impactful units. Sometimes people put everything on violent, and then something procs they don't want to proc, and that's their proc. And they're like, oh man, But mine, I put everything on violent I want to proc, and everything I don't really want to proc, not on violent. So for instance, in this team, Ganny, Molong, Bulwark, not on violent. All three, right? A lot of people have their Molongs on violent, and the only thing it really does is decrease the cooldown, because his skill 2 does nothing, and his skill 1 is just defense break. So I'm giving up the opportunity to cool down his third for focusing my procs into Velijoul and Harmonia, my cleansers, which is like, that's what I want. So that's my thought there, just as a note. He picks silly stuff after this. Let's talk about his draft. Arda Rag, Tyrannus, and Okeanos. So he's got a lot going on. The only thing I'm not sure about here, there's a couple thoughts about his draft that I wonder about, is the Okeanos Hathor is kind of not super synergistic. Like, if I'm going to let something through that's control, Okeanos Hathor is something I kind of will let through, because he doesn't want to stun when she's got him asleep, and she's not going to sleep over the stun because it only extends it by 1. So that's not perfect, right? It's not quite Ganny Hathor. I think you'd rather have Ganny Oki or Ganny Hathor rather than Hathor Oki. The other thing I thought was interesting was the ragdoll into my team. My team is not showing a lot of crit. I mean, the only monster that might be built crit is Belial, and that's true. Only one monster built crit. So ragdoll is not perfect here, but you're still going to crit. It's just not like it's facing a cleave team in it. Turn cycles like crazy. So those are my only thoughts about his pick. Like, this is one of those teams that he picked that he could pick these 5 every time and have a great win rate. So I don't know that he needs to put that much thought into it overall, but that's my only thought there. Okay, and I banned the Artamiel because it's its only sustain. And I have 2 sustains, so if I can work it out where I get a couple heals in, I might become ahead, even though he's taking more turns, because he's slowly whittling down. So that was my thought there. If he had another sustain with this, I might be in some big trouble. Okay, lucky resist there. Double lucky resist, because he's not built resist. It's just lucky. The only thought there, though, is that, bringing the Ganny Vela puts me in a situation where the Oki's not quite as potent, right? Because I can reset. He can't cool down the reset. So even if he cools me down, I have a pretty good option to get it back up. So I think even with that double resist, I would have been okay. Because had he slept the Belial, I would have just woke him up with Harmonia. So that's my thought there. Okay, so we get a nice big hit on Oki. He's now got the revive buff and the defense, which makes it kind of hard for me. Now he's trying to work down Molong, which is smart. Get the nice heal. Hathor's gone. We're feeling great. The cooldown time on Tyrannus is long enough that we don't have to worry about the revive for a little bit. And then Molong's hanging tough. And yeah, Belial's doing crazy stuff. And we get the balance, and that is it. I mean, it was just that long, So that worked out really nicely. Every part of my team worked as it was supposed to. And I think what's nice about the way that my team works is that the heals are big. Like, they're real big. The Bulwark heal is big. The Harmonia heal is big. I've got a Praha built as a tertiary option. Praha's heals are big, because Molong's taking tons of damage. And if they focus something, they're taking tons of damage. And I don't want a Triana heal, I need something that has got some kick to it. Okay, let's look at this next team. So I open with Harmonia, which is kind of my normal. And they go Hathor Sierra, which is interesting. It's clearly a control. First turn is very important. It's saying to me, double immunity me, please, because double immunity is a counter to both of these things. Not 100%, but it's the clear direction you want to go in. If you see those two and you're not interested in double immunity, you are playing into their hand. You are helping them, actively helping them. It's like you're drafting for them. So double immunity is my thought on that. Just something to do. Okay, so after that, I go Belial. Thank God for Belial. I'm so happy I have Belial. And Molong to set up my combo, right? My Molong Harmonia. Give him something to think about. They're like, oh, he has immunity, he has double cleanse now, and now he's got some kill potential that's tanky. That's my thought there. They go with Oki and Chiwu, which, again, with the Oki Hathor, I'm like, okay, that's not the end of the world. Like, I don't mind the way those interact too much. But the Chiwu says, if I was thinking about having any illusions of turn 1, let those go, right? They've got double speed lead. I've got 2 picks left and 3 slow monsters, right? In general, turn 1's not my friend. So that's what that says. And Chiwu against me is kind of a dead pick because I have a couple options. I can say, okay, I'll ban the Chiwu and keep all my buffs, or you can strip, but then that's kind of all you can do. So if you don't follow it up with something devastating like a Savannah, it's not the scariest thing in the world to me in this comp. I mean, if they're playing Chiwu, Gianna, Sierra, like one of those broken Nephthys, like one of those broken comps, like, okay, that's a real problem, and Chiwu's not the issue, it's everything else. But those are a little scarier, right? Okay, so then I follow up with my Amelia Ganny, and my thought on the Ganny is, again, to counter the Oki's reset, right? My monsters don't want to be reset. Tyrannus here is kind of a dead pick, because the reset hurts him an insane amount. And the Ganny can refresh whatever the problem is. Ganny also is a counter to those long-term cooldown control monsters, right? So then he last picks the Vigor, which is an interesting last pick. It gives him some sustain, because he knows, if I'm him, I'm like, oh, I'm in a sustain battle. Oops, I better get some sustain in there. My mistake is I only brought one sustain, but I'm kind of banking that everything else is a bigger problem than my one sustain. Like, in a perfect world, if he banned my Harmonia and I banned his Vigor, I kind of like my chances with double immunity to his chances. Like, I feel like I've got more effective HP. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm banking on getting to keep my sustain. So I did, he didn't. I thought, okay, I'm not super impressed with what he's trying to do. I'll just ban his sustain. It also bans his anti-crit, which doesn't really matter, but it bans his speed buff. So let's see if I can out-sustain him, right? He cools down the Ganny, which is absolutely the right call, especially with the way the speeds worked. My Ganny going right after his Oki. If he had not, I would have cooled down his Sierra or his Oki or something like that. So good job. He cooled down the skill 3, but I've still got my skill 2. Here's the Chiwu. Here's the Delayed Promise. And then here's the Oki issue, right? Like, he can't use his control, and so he's just a skill 1 monster now. They're bombing up my Ganny. Ganny's taking some hits. So now, see, he's used his stun, which I think hurt him more than it helped him. Let's scooch it back just a little bit here. Is that enough? Nope, that's too far. Hold on. Okay. Is that still? Okay, hold on. Alright, here we go. So we're at 1 turn sleep on 3 monsters. He stuns. Now we're at 2 monsters are awake. Like, that cost him 2 turns of control using his skill 3. And that's just bad luck in the resists. But had they all been stunned, what would be the effect? It would be the same effect. It would be 3 monsters stunned, or maybe he stuns the Ganny. And Okis are hard to build with accuracy because they want them so fast. So that's probably part of the problem there. I don't know. That's what kind of hurt him, I think. Because now I can buff immunity, I can cleanse, and I'm getting real close to getting my Veligil to go nuts, is what I'm thinking. He bombs the Veligil, which is a little bit scary. Cools down the Harmonia, very nice. Another bomb on the Veligil. And here, I think the match is somewhat undecided. Like, I'm like, oh man, he is going to burn me down before I can kind of stabilize. But that seal on the Hathor kind of puts that issue into the back burner for now and gives me some time to hopefully get to work. Now we're going to get the Sierra, because really, I'm willing to sacrifice any monster on my team to kill that Sierra, because once the Sierra's down, his damage potential falls drastically. The Sierra is his kill and win condition. So if I can get that down through any means possible, that's my goal. I will happily sacrifice Molong. Okay, so we get the Sierra down. He knows it, and that's it. So those were my first 3 matches with Veligil. 3 wins, kind of 3 different matches, but it worked really well. Okay, so here's the Veligil, Violent Will, and we just showed the stats. Are we going to go back to it? Let's see. We got a little more time in this. Oh, these are just all the runes. So those are some of my really good runes. And let's see if we can... Yeah, there's the stats. So he's, what, 229? I think he's 230 now. I got one more tick of speed off him. But I'm really happy with the stats. 80 crit, 145 crit damage, a little bit of accuracy for the dot and the skill 1 strip. What, 1900 defense, 24k HP. So I think he's runed up pretty nicely. So that was it. Kind of got into depth on some of those RTA videos that I didn't know we would go that in depth, but it's fun. And we got to show off the Veligil and the Barbara. We'll work on the Barbara a little bit and get some content for her in the future. So hope you guys enjoyed it. If it was helpful, let me know. If you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel, that might be nice. I can see from the stats that a lot of people watch the videos and don't subscribe. Couldn't hurt, right? Just push a button. You'll get more stuff like this, but if not, that's totally fine too. All right, I will catch y'all in the next video. Take care, everybody, and have a great week.